Okay, in this next video, I will guide you on using nodes for actions such as tapping, swiping, entering text, or pressing keys. Before we get to the nodes for performing actions on the screen, we need to discuss a very important tool for GenFarmer, which is the inspector. The inspector is a tool that helps us capture elements on the screen. For example, here I am connecting my phone, and this is the current screen of the device. To perform automated tapping and swiping on this screen, meaning I want the application to swipe, tap, or enter text somewhere automatically, we need to determine the position of the element, the position to tap or swipe, right? The inspector, developed by GenLogin, helps you capture XPath much more simply compared to using GenLogin. Now, I will briefly introduce the inspector. This is the main interface of the inspector. Here is a drop-down where you can select devices. Currently, I have only one device, so I will select this device. And reload. After you manually operate on the phone, you can reload to update the latest screen. This is the latest screen currently on my phone. Grid. It will have boxes to determine the position of each element. For example, each icon will be within a box. This is a box for an icon. Next, swipe. It allows swiping, so you can operate directly on the inspector screen. Here, you can swipe from right to left. After swiping, it will automatically reload to update the latest screen, or you can swipe down. Swiping down will directly operate on the current screen and update the current screen's image on the inspector. Next, crop. It helps you crop an image, which serves the use of the inspector node. You will use the crop to cut an image at a position you want to focus on. For example, if I want to cut the Zoom logo, I select the position. After selecting, you can move the frame. To capture the most accurate element, you point at it. To save this image as a base64 format, click the Save button, and it will save in base64 format. You only need to go into the app and paste it into the image search. Image search. I will have a video on the image search node later, which is at the top bar. Next, I will guide you on using the inspector to capture elements displayed on the screen. Suppose here, I have the main screen of my phone. For example, I want to click on an icon, like the first LichViet icon. How do you capture its XPath for use? Here, you point the mouse at the LichViet app, and right in the middle of this screen, it shows the automatically captured XPath. This XPath captures text, and the displayed content is LichViet. This has some disadvantages. The first is when there are more than 2 LichViet apps, you cannot know exactly which one to use. You will add an order to the XPath. This will be covered in Advanced XPath, which I will explain in a video on capturing XPath. Another disadvantage of capturing XPath by text is if the app's name on the device's interface is LichViet. However, if you change the interface, change the device language to English, or access another device that uses English, the name changes from LichViet to something else. It is no longer LichViet, but its English name. The XPath will be incorrect because it captures the text LichViet. In this part, I will guide you on how to handle the error with LichViet. We will use the node element_exist here to check if the element exists. Suppose we find the XPath for lichviet. We will input the XPath here. This node will have a separate video, but here I will guide you on fixing the language error. In the element_exist, we have the XPath as lichviet. This node checks if the XPath for lichviet exists. It will have two outputs, green for existing XPath lichviet and red for non-existing XPath lichviet. To handle both cases, you will use both green and red outputs. Suppose on my device it is lichviet, and I change the language, the app name changes to ABC. We will use the node touch. I will guide how to use it later. There will be two nodes here. If the element_exist is successful, finding the XPath, it will run through the green wire and follow the green path. The green path indicates the XPath for lichviet, meaning the device language is as displayed when I wrote the script. If not, and suppose the lichviet XPath is renamed ABC. I don't have a precise example, but suppose lichviet in another language is ABC. You will need to change. The text here is no longer lichviet, but ABC to click. Then there are several nodes following. It will cover both cases. Whether you write in Vietnamese or English, it will work and not fail. This is a small tip for writing scripts to ensure all devices can use it. Regarding XPath, it will be used in most subsequent nodes, so keep this in mind. Capturing XPath. As I said, point to an element to capture, then you will see the XPath line. XPath line is a shortened XPath, and you left-click once to copy it automatically. Into the device's temporary memory, then paste it into the app for use. Besides, on the inspector, there is the mouse position, which shows the mouse position. Position here is the X coordinate, which is 972, and the Y coordinate is 680. For example, this X coordinate is 505 and 1586. This is used for the node click and node touch. You can click by XPath or without XPath by coordinates. You will use the coordinates here in your script. You cannot click directly on this screen. If you want to click on something, point to the element and click here. This is the XPath click for me. Click, and it will enter the app. Next is the part. Text. This is the name of Duolingo. Nothing more to say. One more part. Checkable. What is checkable? Checkable checks if the element is a box that can be ticked. Check is the tick mark. I will give an example for easier understanding. Suppose I have a checklist here. I will reload for you to see. Here, I have a checklist, and this box can be ticked, right? This is the checkable state. Now I will try pointing at the box. The checkable state here is true, meaning this box can be ticked, can be clicked. When capturing an element, check if it's the correct element you need. Now, suppose I tick it manually and reload. Here, it is already ticked. I will point at it again. Here, the check is true. The true state is ticked. The false state is not ticked. This is checkable and check. Next, clickable, can be clicked. It's easy to understand. When capturing an element, note that only clickable true can be used for node touch. If clickable is false, you cannot click or touch it. Enable. It will turn on, which is the switch to turn on or off. Focusable is used when entering text. Here, I will give an example. Focusable. Here, you can see the box with the word search. It is a box for you to focus on. Select to enter text, right? Now, I will point my mouse at the search box to see if it can be entered. Here, suppose I click in the middle of the search box, the grid is aligned. However, its state is not focusable, meaning the XPath I just pointed to cannot be focused. And cannot use node type text to enter text there, I must repoint it. Here, you see, when I point the whole yellow box is darker, the focusable state is true. Meaning the XPath can be focused, and you can enter text into it. It's very important when using the node type text to enter text. Type text. When you want to enter somewhere without clicking, you need to input its selector here. Check if the selector, XPath, is correct, with focusable true. When you point here, although it's the XPath of the search box, its focusable state is false, so you cannot click it. Note this, it's very important when writing scripts. That is focusable, check if it can be focused. Suppose I click there. You see, I click the word search, preparing to search. Now the focusable state is true. At this point, after manually clicking, the small yellow box state is true. And the focus state is also true, meaning I manually clicked it. So it is focused on that box. Now I only need to enter text into the box via the XPath. This is the meaning of focusable and focused. Note when capturing XPath for node type text to enter text. Scrollable, can it scroll? The search box cannot scroll. Next is long clickable, can it be pressed and held? True, it can be pressed and held. Password, it checks if the box is for entering passwords. Here, I will demo for you. I will open an app that allows entering passwords. To load this page again. This is a page with a password box. Now I will point at it. I point at it. The inspector recognizes this box as a password box. When you enter, you will know the XPath. Suppose the XPath of this app is text by password, easy to capture. However, some apps have more complex XPath. Check if you captured correctly the password box by checking if the password state is true. True means it's the password box. Enter the password, continue automation. So, I introduced the inspector tool. You need to note some important points. First, point to the element to capture its XPath line. And input it to operate on the element. Next, particularly note elements containing text. Suppose text by login, password, or settings. Note when working on multiple devices. Devices with different languages. As I instructed, split into two cases. First, Vietnamese. Second, English. I think these are the common languages. For example, text by settings on another device or another phone using Vietnamese. It's not settings, it's Tsaidat. You need to switch to Tsaidat. Besides, attributes are true or false to check if the XPath is correct. Check if the XPath attributes are suitable for use. That's the video about the inspector. Next, we will cover nodes using XPath from the inspector for application.